Hello, football fans. Well, I'm sorry I've been late with this again. Hockey and baseball's postseason. I've just been having fun with all of that, but I have to talk about a crazy week that have seen things that shouldn't have happened. For one, the Niners losing to the Browns. I said the minute they did this, they would regret getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, I said this. I'm tired of being right, but I was right again. But yeah, Brock Purdy went out there and sucked because, of course, he did. He only threw for 100 and something. I think it was 120 something. It wasn't much, and he threw an interception. You know who never threw picks? Jimmy G. You know who would have beaten the Browns into submission? Jimmy G. Trust me. As a Packers fan who has seen that man just own Aaron Rodgers somehow, I know for a fact that Jimmy would have went to Cleveland and burned the Browns' place to the ground. The Niners are frauds. The biggest fraud is that quarterback. Though a close second would be Kittle. This is exactly why I didn't draft him in fantasy because you get a good Kittle and you get a Kittle that gives you about this much. I know from experience. So yeah, they should have kept Jimmy. They wouldn't be in this mess. But anyway. So that left the Eagles as the team that the 72 Dolphins were watching, and they lost two. They lost to the Jets, and Jalen Hurts was a mess. Threw three interceptions, which is rare from him. But yeah, they lost to a Rodgersless Jets team. My goodness. So there are no unbeatens, and it's pretty early. We're in mid-October, and nobody's undefeated. Sadly, Carolina is still winless. And I still can't figure out how that's possible. I had Carolina winning the division. I really did. I had Carolina winning the NFC South this year because I figured it would be another toss up. By that I mean it would be kind of, you know, and it's just crazy. And they had a pretty good offseason. They got the number one pick in that trade, and they got Thielen, and I just thought things were going to go well, and they have been a disaster. And I think the worst part is Chicago has their first round pick, so any losing Carolina does, it helps the Bears. Oh boy, they really are screwed this season, and it really sucks. Um, the Packers and Steelers were off, and the Steelers had to see every other team in the AFC North win. The Browns won, so did the Bengals, and the Ravens won. So that's kind of iffy for the Steelers. Of course, our only problem is Detroit because when the Bears and Vikings play each other, that's a third place game. They'll play for third place because neither one of those two is going to pass Detroit and Green Bay. Detroit shelled Tampa, so that doesn't help us one bit. But we'll get out of this hole. I know we will. Um, of course, we had that Sunday night game shit show. Yes, it was a shit show. It was the only interesting part about it was close, but it was sloppy. I entered thinking the Bills were going to just dismantle the Giants because the Giants' offense has been very, very horrible this season. Instead, Josh Allen had one of those games, and he's known to have them. He doesn't have a lot of them, but he's known to have them. Even so, I drafted him, and I'm glad I did because his Jekyll Hyde moments, his Mr. Hyde moments at quarterback don't really come very often. For every one Mr. Hyde game he has about 4 or 5 Dr. Jekyll games. So so he's good for the most part. So yeah, drafting him was the right thing to do. Plus, I wanted to have him on fantasy football this year, and but yeah, it was just disaster. He got it together by the fourth quarter, but thanks to Tyler Bass missing a field goal, he missed two in that game. The Giants actually had a shot, and they had an untimed down thanks to pass interference, and the pass is incomplete though. It looked like PI should have been called again on the Bills, but I think the refs just wanted to get the hell out of there. Oh boy! But anyway, um, of course, Monday Night Football was the Cowboys and Chargers. It was a close game. Cowboys won that game. Of course, the talk. of that game was that Chargers fan. They kept putting the camera on this young woman who went wild and crazy when they got in the end zone. I think it was Gerald Everett's touchdown that had her just all over the place happy. But then Herbert threw the pick on what was supposed to be like a game time drive, and we could just see the dejection on her face. Just we, but that's what we want. We want emotion from football fans, or sports fans overall, and it was good to see the focus on her as she was watching, cheering on her Chargers. Unfortunately, the Chargers did not win, but they'll be fine. They'll be fine. The Chargers are better than people say they are. Yes, they have a knack for kind of messing up, but that's on the coach. Some idiot on Twitter that I know his handle at Legend Sports 7 is trying to blame Herbert when the fact is Herbert's the victim of a bad coach, and I know for experience because I'm a Packers fan. I'm a Packers fan, and I've seen Aaron Rodgers victimized by the incompetence of Mike McCarthy for years. So I can easily tell when a good quarterback is a victim of a horrible coach, and that's exactly the case with Justin Herbert. Brandon Staley is an idiot. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't. So yeah, but that's how Week 6 ended. Week 6 began with Thursday night football. Kelsey helped dismantle the Broncos, and then a couple nights later, he and Taylor Swift appeared on Saturday Night Live in cameo appearances. Wonderful. And this is after a dinner date. That's even more wonderful. But anyway, that's my brief recap of week 6. It was just a crazy week that saw a lot of upsets that shouldn't have happened. You know, the Jets should have beat the Eagles. The Browns definitely shouldn't have beaten the 49ers if they had kept Jimmy G. They wouldn't have. And the Giants almost pulled it out against Buffalo. I was hoping they would, but circumstances. But anyway, so week 7. Can't believe we're in week 7 already. You know, we're in mid-October. It's amazing. We're a couple weeks away from November, and of course, November's kind of an important month in the NFL season. Maybe because the start of November is just weeks away from Thanksgiving when everything starts. But as far as week 7, there's no international games this week, though the next ones are a couple weeks from now. They're both in Germany. But anyway, Jaguars and Saints, Thursday Night Football kicks off week 7. The Lions are in Baltimore. I don't know how to feel about that because they got Lamar, they got Tucker. What the hell else do they have? I need Baltimore to beat the Lions. So and they're at home, which does help. But again, somebody other than those two has to do something. We have an NFC East battle between the Commanders and the Giants. The Steelers are back in action. They're at SoFi against the Rams. The Packers are back in action. They're Mile High against the Broncos, or what's left of them. The Chiefs host the Chargers. That's going to be a big event. Sunday Night Football is Dolphins and Eagles, and of course NBC promoted it as the battle of the co-Alabama quarterbacks because it's Tua and Jalen. They were together. I think one backed up the other. But I forget which one. I think Tua was starting more. I think he was. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me. So yeah, it's Tua versus Jalen. That battle. That's going to be good. And the Niners are in Minnesota against the Vikings. That's a Monday Night Football. So that's my brief recap of week number 6. If you like this video, click like. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe if you want more. If you're on TikTok, feel free to click that follow button. My story on Vocal will be featured. Check it out where you can. I promise I definitely promise I'll be early with week 7's recap. And whenever the LCS ends, I'll recap that too. American League played 3 games, and National League played 2. They still can end pretty quick. But I'll definitely try to be early for week 7's recap. So stay tuned.